Hello, good morning everyone. I had some people asking about how to add a filter when we have already defined one, and for that we need to use the AND indicator. And let's see an example. Let's use a setup from the shared folder. For this example I will use reversal filtered by the slope of a linear regression. On this setup we trade the reversal dots only if they are in agreement with the slope of the black line, which is a linear regression. This short, for example, is not taken because the slope is positive. Same for this long, it is not taken because the slope is negative. This short is in agreement, so we have a short signal here. And if we have enabled the exit is configured to close position on an opposite signal. A short is closed at a cyan dot and a long is closed at a red dot, only if we have the exit button pressed. Now if we want to add another condition, on this example we have already defined the filter. Here the filter is the slope of the linear regression, positive for longs and negative for shorts. This variable is the slope of the linear regression. We can see the value on the histogram. When it is positive we have a green histogram, when it is negative we have a red histogram. So if we want to add another condition, for example, let's define a new rule on a different chart. And answering another question, we can see how to create a filter that enable shorts only if the high of the current bar is below the previous high. For example, this bar is not allowing a short because the high is we have a higher high than previous high. So only on these blue arrows we are enabled to enter short. To do that we need to compare the current high and the previous high. So we need to copy to marker variables the current high. Let's name it high 0. We set high and use a displacement of 0 because it is current bar. The line by default is painted on a second panel, but we can change it to overlap with price. We can see that it is the high of the current bar. And now we need the high of the previous bar. So we use again the copy, name it high 1. We select also the high data series and with the displacement of 1 bar. So it is the high of 1 bar before, in color red and on same panel. And now we have copied both highs. When previous bar high is higher than current high, we are in short mode. On this bar we don't have shorts enabled. So let's look the name of the variables again. When the red line is over the blue line, the red line is high 1 and the blue line is high 0. When high 1 is bigger than high 0, we enable longs. To do that, we need to use the crossover indicator that also calculate the distance between two lines. So we check high 0 versus high 1, and the name for the result, which is high 0 minus high 1, let's name it high 0 1. I don't want it to paint anything, only interested in looking at the histogram. And we see that when we have an uptrend, the result is positive, and when we have a downtrend, it is negative. So we can enable shorts when that value is negative. This value is available on all charts. So if we want to filter shorts, we need this value to be negative. This value is high 0 1, and we can use that value on this chart. We can use line paint to see the value of that result. On this example, as the time frames are not equal, the only meaningful value is the real-time value. We can see that the values are the same on main and the second chart on real time. So we have the same value on both charts, only on real time when we are using different time frame charts. Now we are on long mode because the value is positive. The current value is positive. But if we want to use this as filter, we already have defined a filter. So how can we add a new filter to the current filter? So we want to enter long when this is positive and enter short when this is negative, but also taking into account the slope of the linear regression. So we need to use the AND indicator, and here we can put several conditions. On this case we are using only two. First, the initial condition, the slope of the linear regression. This is the value of the slope of the linear regression. So now we are going to create the conditions for a long. We need a slope positive, so bigger than 0, and also that this value, which is high 0 1, and we want it also positive. So we need a minimum of 0, and the name for the result is a condition for long. I don't want to paint any signal, only interested in the histogram result. At the bottom we can see the result, which can be +1 or -1. +1 when it is true. When both conditions are true, we have a +1 in blue. The condition is the slope be positive and also this value be equal or bigger than 0. If I want this value to be bigger than 0, for example 1 tick, I can put a minimum of 1 tick. So we are not including zeros. So what we get with the AND indicator is a new variable. We specify the name here, which has a value of +1 when both conditions, this value is equal or bigger to 1 tick. Let's remember that this value comes from this another chart and is equal to this value, that is the ratio between current high and previous high on this bar from this time frame. And also the new value must be the slope bigger than 0 and also this new value bigger than 1 tick. We have these two bars positive because this bar is almost positive. This very small, we have a very small positive slope, but we can add a threshold to avoid those values. On the AND condition we can increase the, instead of using 0, we can increase the threshold to see if we can remove these noise signals. Let's see the value. The value is 0.0003. So if we use 0.0005, then we can remove that small positive slope. Now we have these other two almost positive, very small but positive. The value for that is 0.00, almost 0.001. So if we use 0.002, then we remove all the noise. 0.002. And now we have a more filtered result. So our condition is true when it is blue, +1, when the slope is positive, and also the calculated value from the other chart is positive or bigger than 1 tick. Let's see how it works tick by tick. When this value changes, we should get a new result. By now we are on positive mode because both conditions are true. The slope is still positive, but on the right chart we can see that the current bar is going to close on the other direction. When this bar is closed, we can see that now it changes to negative, -0.05, and we get a negative -1 result on the AND condition, because one of the conditions is no more true. The slope is still positive, but the condition from the other chart is no longer true. As a result, or long result from the AND condition is no longer true. Now we need to use this as filter instead of the slope of the linear regression. On markers we still have the original filter. Now instead of using as filter the slope of the linear regression, we must use the new result from the AND indicator. This value calculated with the AND indicator, we assigned the name condition long, and then we must use this on the filter. So on markers we replace the current filter with the new variable condition long, and the minimum value must be 1, because only when it is 1 the condition is true. And for shorts we need to define the same condition but for shorts. Let's name it condition short, and it also must be +1, so it has a minimum of 1 to be true. Now we need to define this condition. So we need to use again the AND indicator. The name for this variable is condition short, and we use the same variables but for shorts. High 01 had a minimum of 1 tick for longs, so now we need to translate that for on the short condition. So I will copy the name of this variable and remember to place 0.01 but as a maximum. I am also missing a minus. The slope of the linear regression with a maximum instead of a minimum, a maximum of 0.002 but negative. We must do the same with the high 01. Now, I don't want to paint any signal. This is positive 1 tick, and for the shorts negative 1 tick. So now we have conditions for shorts and for longs. A minimum of 0.002 and a maximum of 0.002. Now on the current results we can see the conditions for longs are all disabled and conditions for longs are currently enabled. We are longs enabled, and let's see how we are still short enabled. The middle histogram is conditions for long, the bottom histogram are conditions for short. So we are short enabled. This is the filter for shorts. Now we are not enabled for anything, neither shorts, neither longs, because the value on the higher time frame is positive. It switched from negative to positive, but the slope of the linear regression is still on the other side. We need the slope to be positive. Now we have longs enabled because we have both variables in agreement, the slope and the second time frame value. Now we are on short mode. On this point we leave the long enable because this value from the other time frame changes to negative. Now we need the slope of the linear regression to be in agreement to enable shorts. That happened a few bars from this bar. Now we are enable shorts enabled. When the slope is bigger than the threshold that we have specified. So let's make a review. When we want to replace one single condition with a multiple condition, we need to use the AND indicator. On this indicator we join several conditions and create a new variable. Usually we need a variable for longs and another variable for shorts. This new variable created with AND has a +1 value when it is true. So this is the value that we need to use on the filter on markers, a minimum of +1 to enable the longs and the same for the shorts using the other variable. Hope this has been useful for you, and if you have any question, please post below this video. Thank you everyone, bye bye.